Hey guys, it's Jess. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. If you are new, hey, join that worldwide fam. Okay, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below to become part of it, and let's get on with the video. So when you're dealing with mental illness, a lot of times it kind of does a whole 180 on your life. I remember after dealing with my panic attacks every day, I used to pray to God to just put me back to who I was before any of this started happening. And this happened when I was 22. Yeah, I was 22 and I was so terrified. I feel like my life just started and was already ending. And I just prayed every day. I was like, please, God, please put me back. You know, before all this stuff happened, I don't know what caused it. I don't know what caused the shift. I don't know if it was just all the things that I was dealing with at the time, because I was going through a lot. And honestly, with what I was dealing with, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. I just wasn't sure. And I just remember wanting to be my old self because I had changed so much. I wasn't as vibrant as I was. I wasn't as interested in going out and meeting people and making friends and staying out late. I didn't drink anymore. I didn't do anything that all my friends were doing socially. And I was a recluse. I stayed inside a lot because I was so afraid of leaving. I became a hypochondriac. I was just so terrified of living because I had no idea what caused it. And I was so afraid that anything was going to make it worse that I just stayed at home. And it changed me a lot because I just started living in that. And I found comfort and not going out and doing all those things because I felt like anything that I would do outside of my house would exacerbate it. A couple years in, I remember really fighting it a lot at first and just being really afraid and scared because I didn't want to succumb to it. I didn't want it to ruin my life and take me over. And I felt like if I fought it and fought it and fought it, it would just go away. But all I was doing was making it a lot worse because I wasn't learning to live with it and it wasn't going away. So I started going to the doctor, I started seeing a therapist, and I started just identifying a lot of things in my life that may have started it because no one could figure out what it was. I mean, my doctor, and I'm not exaggerating, probably had done like 80 freaking blood tests that year just to figure out, because I remember just everything was happening. Like I had a bunch of bodily changes, I had a lot of emotional changes. I'm thinking, oh, here's the change, it's happening soon. You know, my mom went through menopause in her 30s. So I was like, here we go, body. And I really just thought like it was just all this stuff that it really wasn't. I just attributed it to a lot of the stress that I was dealing with. And I just kind of leave it at that. I don't really care anymore why it happened. It happened. I started noticing that I became so fixated on who I used to be before the anxiety that I wasn't paying attention to who I had become and who I wanted to be. So going through therapy, I realized a lot of things about myself that I honestly don't think I would have found out if I didn't go to therapy, which is why I always recommend therapy to people. Once I started looking back and realizing, wow, it wasn't that great. You know, what was I doing with my life before I had anxiety? What was I doing? Who was I hanging out with? I wasn't totally enthralled in my life and the people I was with, and the choices that I was making were questionable, to say the least, okay? Very questionable. This is a life that I wanted to go back to, in which I was in a space that wasn't safe or good for me. Like, this is what I wanted to get back to. And when I learned and started really processing a lot of my feelings about why I wanted to go back, it was really just, I wasn't anxious then. I wasn't dealing with stress then as much as I was at the moment. I wasn't dealing with depression. I wasn't dealing with all that stuff. And that's really why I wanted to go back. It had nothing to do with my life at that point. So then I started to sit down and think, okay, well, what are all the positive things that has come out of you having anxiety? Because people don't think about that. They just think, oh, mental illness is bad. Nothing good comes of it. But I started looking at things that way. What good has come out of this experience? So for one, I stopped being around people that didn't make me feel valued. For one, I was okay with it because for a while the excuse was, well, I have anxiety, I can't do that. Or I don't have anxiety, I have anxiety, so I don't want to be around people that are stressing me out or situations. And people were cool with that. It's sad to say, like, you really sometimes have to go through some stuff for people to really respect your peace. But I was okay with that. And so it became normal that people started kind of giving me leeway, respecting me a lot more, and understanding if I didn't want to go somewhere and do something, like, hey, just invite me to the next thing. You know, it wasn't like, oh, well, forget Jess, cut her out. And I loved that. I loved who I was becoming. I loved that I was taking charge of myself and dealing with my feelings and talking about things that I didn't like and talking about things that I do like. And I loved the person that I was becoming. When I started looking at all the positive changes, I was like, I don't want to be who I used to be. I don't want to be that person that was doing all the things wrong, basically. I started working on the person that I wanted to be. I used who I was at that point as my baseline, and I just built up from there, okay? Stop searching for the person that you used to be before whatever happened to you happened to you. That person is gone. That person is dead, okay? Let them go. Okay, let them go. What you have to focus on now is what you have now. And literally, if you have to sit down and list all of the positive things that have come from this experience and what you want to do with that information. If you've become a worse person, look at why you become a worse person. Look at what made you this way and work on that. Don't say, oh, well, I want to go back to a time before this happened, because the time's passed. You can't get it back. And that sounds really sad, but that's the reality of it. You have to just live in the now. And that is something that I never, ever thought I would ever say, because I used to think it was the biggest load of crap when people told me that. Don't get so anxious. Don't freak out. Live in the now. I was like, girl, stop looking for that old you. Okay, that old you is raggedy. You don't want it. Work with what you got now and who you are now and who you've become, because this is what's real, what's happening in the now. If you have not done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below to become part of that worldwide fam. And I will see you guys somewhere out there in the world or in my next video.
Hi, YouTube.
Hi.
It's time to jump up in the air.